All right, let me get next hour set up, and we will get going. So we'll get the 6 o'clock hour rolling as I look at my notes. You guys stay tuned for that. And all right, let's get the 6 o'clock hour going right now.
Braxton was diagnosed with choroid plexus carcinoma, a brain tumor. St. Jude is helping us put away our fears. We have an amazing team that fights for the best outcome for Braxton. He has the best chance here. I don't have to worry that how much is that bag of fluid going to cost me? Can I afford it to save my child's life? The donations, they're paying for me to live every day with my son, and they're paying for me to live every day stress-free and enjoy every day with him. I wish there was a word bigger than thank you, more close to the heart, because thank you's not enough. They've given me hope. They've given me my son.
Welcome to the Geocache Talk Network's 9th annual podcast of hope. This year we are hoping to raise $12,000 for St. Jude Children's Hospital. These donations directly fund life-saving treatments and groundbreaking research. Your contribution, no matter the size, can bring hope to families facing the toughest battles of their lives. Imagine a place where families battling life-threatening illnesses never see a bill for treatment, travel, housing, or food. That's St. Jude. Every dollar you give helps these kids get the care they need and the hope they deserve. We've heard countless stories of courage and resilience from families who found a lifeline in St. Jude, and it's not just about the incredible medical care. It's about the community of support, the warmth, the love that you can be a vital part of. Now, let's join our hosts of the Geocache Talk Network's podcast of hope.
Thank you for being with us tonight and supporting St. Jude kids like me.
So a couple quick notes on our donations, and I'll get to the tote board here in a moment. But for this hour, we have donations or gifts to our donors from Space Coast. They have a coin gift pack. This is their number one gift pack they're giving away tonight. Go to spacecoastgeostore.com and check them out. Thank you, Space Coast, for donating tonight. We've also got Oak Coins gift pack. Is they're giving away a few of those. Tonight's is right now. And Scrabble Hounds is giving away some geocaching shirts. So this is one of their giveaways as well for this hour. So thank you to them, and welcome. Thank you guys for being on tonight. And Tim wanted to be on to grill Bryan. I'm sorry, ask Bryan some questions in a little bit.
Yeah, wait a minute. I don't want to grill Bryan. He was a really nice guy. I really wanted to share with everybody a Bryan story that I had that many people may not know about, and he looks like he forgot. There was this little event in Abbotsford, Canada, British Columbia, and I had spent the better part of the day wrangling signal.
We'll bring it up
that was great. So I'm sitting in the back after it's really hot, and I'm taking a break, and in walks Bryan, and he says, "Do you know where the break room is?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, we want to grab some soft drinks for the vendors." So here I am with the president of geocaching. We're going up and raiding the refrigerator, and we got like 3 or 4 boxes of sodas.
Right.
And I'm carrying them, and he's handing them out to people that can't get out of their booths because it's so busy. And I was like, who does that? What CEO, what president of what company could possibly do that? Our own Bryan Roth. So Bryan, cheers to you. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. That's my welcome story. Bryan is human. And he's also
Oh.
muted.
Brian's muted. Sorry. See if you can unmute yourself there, Brian. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you. And I do remember doing that. I just remember it was hot, and there were, we had all these drinks and figured why not help out the people who are helping out. And the reality is it's something that if the thought crossed any of our minds as geocachers, we would not hesitate to do it. So another member of the community, and I'd like to say that every one of you, had it been suggested, would have been handing out sodas to whoever needed them. So it worked out pretty well. But yeah, I remember the story. I wasn't quite sure what you were going to say when you started. I'm like, there's 24 years of stories there, so some of them are a little less appropriate for the air.
No, man. Hey, has that ever been considered, Brian, for a book for geocaching.com to release anecdotes and stories throughout the years? Because I'm sure with yourself, like Jeremy and others, I mean, there must be some really good, hidden gems in the history of geocaching.
I mean, without question, there are a lot of hidden gems. I think the hardest part is something, a smell or a sound or a scene will trigger a memory, and you're like, oh my goodness, remember that story.
Yeah.
But sitting down and being like, okay, what are all the, let's remember all the stories from 24 years. Like invariably, it's just so difficult to think about them. But yeah, we had our company holiday party last night, which I think is almost like a tradition from my participation on this. It's like coming off the holiday party, and I'll say, we got to bed at about 3:00 in the morning.
Oh no!
And yes, it was. It's always a fun time, honestly. What I appreciate the most. Let's say I appreciate a lot of things, but one of the things that I appreciate is that spouses and partners and guests will come up, late in the evening where, we're a 93 person company, give or take. Yeah. And we had our holiday party at the Pacific Science Center down in Seattle. It's beautiful. There's so much to see, interactives and whatever. I have an anecdote that'll go with that. I'll share that in a second. But towards the end of the night, it's like, all right, we have a planned after hours that is like 12 to 2, and it's at a local bar. Normally we can walk, and over the course of the years, like that after hours has gotten a little bit more of a reputation as just being another part of the fun. And so we had like 45 people, like half the company showed up between 12 and 2:00 in the morning for after hours. And one of the things that was said to me by 2, if not 3 people effectively was, it's amazing to be at a company holiday party where everybody wants to stay together. People aren't looking for the quickest excuse to get out the door. Like you've got people dancing on the dance floor to, legit having a great time as if it's a gathering of friends. And the reality is, that's what it is. That's the best part of a holiday party. So the only anecdote that I was going to share now that it's been sort of brought up was, at one point they said, okay, if the different teams would like to get like a team photo, go here. And so they called out, the senior management team, the senior leadership team, please meet in the dinosaur room for your team photo. And we're like, the dinosaur room? Like, what are you saying? Like, I know it's been a while, but this is
dinosaur room.
But for those of you who have not been to the Pacific Science, the dinosaur room is extraordinary. I mean, they have can't say life size, but like scale models of animatronic T-Rexes and things like that. Anyway, that was last night, and so so there's a lot of stories.
You had to recover.
Well, it speaks to the volume. We know geocachers like to have fun. We know we have a great community, and we know that the HQ has a great culture that makes it all happen. So thank you to you all for making that happen for sure.
I mean, the gratitude goes in all directions, because really, this is a dream to get to do this kind of job. And you're saying like we like to have fun. That's the nature of the game, is together as a community, we're creating this thing that brings more fun to people's lives all around the world. In a nutshell, that's what we do. So it's spot on. Like, this is a group of people, we're not in it for, I mean, perhaps some people are in it for the drama, and it's not without its drama, but by and large, the overwhelming percentage of active people in the game are out there just, giving and sharing and having a great time in nature, which, I know we've discussed it before, but it's good for all of us, community wise, individual wise, etc.
Yeah, so it really does speak to, like you said, and it's been mentioned in the comments, and I know Jesse's working the chat room tonight, so thank you, Jesse, for doing that. But it's something we have talked before, but it's worth noting again. A couple of things. One is that you do have an incredible staff, Bryan, and I think many years ago, we were talking, and you're like, well, I wear a lackey shirt because I'm a lackey. And you're like, everyone here's a lackey, and I love this idea, and it's like, it's not just for people that are like, oh, well, that's a nice little slogan to have, but I have from experience know that it's not a slogan. It's something that you guys and gals really embrace and live out. And we have had, all of my experiences with, all of the lackeys has been tremendous. I mean, everybody has been, and like you said, that it's genuine. You can tell. We've all met people who, they're going to be whatever. They're going to be exuberant for something because they have an agenda, and they're like, they walk away. They're not actually, they're maybe not as, as genuine as you would hope they would be. But all my experience with everyone with HQ has been genuine. Everybody has been so wonderful. And we all appreciate that. We've all, met lackeys, at various times. Or at least hopefully at least we have met many lackeys. We've been very, very thrilled.
We'll be out and about next year. So
cool.
More opportunities to
awesome.
to get to see some of us.
Yeah, we're gonna get to 2025 here in a minute for sure, because it's a big year, and 2020 we want to, 20th anniversary was nice, but unfortunately it was marred. So now 25, I think we're gonna be much better off, I think, this time around.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's one of those things where, you think about 24 plus years as it stands now, and it's like, wow, that kind of went quick. And then it's like, well, I don't really remember a time before this, so it didn't really go quick.
Mm-hmm.
It's this strange, but when it comes to, the lackeys, it's like all of us, it's an aspirational, like, how do we give more? How do we challenge ourselves? And it's not like, you start as a lackey and you come in, it's like, let's train you on how to care. You can't really teach that. But what the reality of it is that what we have to do is we have to help, especially newcomers, connect to the community so that they understand, you develop the sense of caring because you see how special it is, and you see the groups of people around the world with, different cultures and different locations, but sharing the same passion for the game and sharing in the same way, creating experiences for others, volunteering time to put on events, organizing a giga or mega, or next year's the block parties and the community celebration events. Like, every piece of that is an element of giving. And so as much as it's taking place internally at HQ, and we manage to turn this into like, okay, we get to do this for a living, like what a amazing thing that is. But like, it's happening all over the world, and it's not just us. And I know we've talked about it in the past, but this is like, when you talk about the strength of the community or any community, this was never something that could be done by a company or an individual or a team. Right. Like, it's only scalable at this level through community adoption and integration and welcoming people and including people and letting people know that, hey, if you want to join us, you are welcome. And the world abounds with these treasures for you to go find. And look at what we've created collectively over 24 years. And so on the cusp of 25 years, it's something like, let's celebrate. We're excited about it. I don't have the exact count. I haven't looked in a few days, but traditionally there's like 50 or so megas and gigas annually, and I think we're either very close to or over 100 next year.
Wow.
100, like amazing. And if you think about like the scale of what it takes to produce even one of those, here you've got these organizations around the world. That's just the megas and gigas and block parties, but there's going to be another 40, 50,000 regular events that take place every year also. 40,000 gathering, it's such a big number, but every little bit of that's not us. We're maintaining the platform. We're going to make sure that it runs ideally as well as it possibly can. We're going to look at obviously making some positive changes to it in 2025. I would say I'm excited about the things that we have announced. I am just as excited about the things that we have not yet announced. And so
but you're going to announce those tonight, right?
Bryan, we are incredibly supportive of spilling the beans here. I want to let you know that. And certainly we encourage that. And we feel that's a good thing for community engagement.
I'm generally conservative and risk averse. And if you understood how much trouble I would get in if I mentioned even the littlest bit, you would understand.
Four of us, really. There's nobody else. There's just the four
nobody's
of us.
listening. Yeah, nobody's listening.
Bryan,
don't tell anybody.
Between you and me, if there's some big pizza
everybody turn your headphones off for a second.
Right.
Well, I think that all of
it's going to be a fun year. It is going to be a fun year.
I think a couple of comments that, go back to the people. I've never met a lackey I haven't liked. And, I've met a number of lackeys out in the field, and I really appreciate you. Thanks, Neil. I really appreciate the way your company lets or sends lackeys to the various events. I mean, that's great. And I think what is awesome is when I get to meet a lackey in the field at their very first event. And you get to watch their eyes glaze over that they have no idea what they're getting into. Right. And everybody comes up to them and is so warm and friendly and greeting, and it's amazing.
I was at a mega in Hellendoorn, which is in the Netherlands. I think we may have talked about that. That was the amusement park mega, which in its own right was exceptional. Cool. And we traveled there at that time. I want to say there were like 4 or 5 lackeys, maybe 3 of whom Annie was there, Annie Love. And so she's got plenty of event experience, of course, but there were a couple of lackeys for whom it was their first mega. And I remember before the mega started, we were all out sort of in the parking lot of this amusement park, and there were hundreds of people there. And, I have a group of people that I'm talking to, and Annie does as well. And I look over and I see the other 3 lackeys, and they all have 20 or 30 people standing around them. And, there were various sort of facial states of like amazement or like, oh my goodness, I know they told me it was going to be like that, but I had no idea. And I just couldn't help but smile because I knew like the experience of getting to all of a sudden have an instant friendship with so many people, or have something to talk about with, for those of us who traveled before geocaching, it was a rare occurrence that you would have the opportunity to truly interact with not just locals, but people who are also travelers. Everybody's walking along in their own box, but here you go to an event and it's like, that spirit of connection is so strong. And to take lackeys, particularly who are, seeing a lot of that here, hearing about, what it means to serve the community and move our mission forward and try and do more of what we're trying to do, for them to go and then understand that like, oh, this is what is being powered by this. This is the element that we're adding to this overall equation. And as somebody who's now been involved for 24 plus years, it's just such a wonderful feeling because I know how special it is. And to to know that people that I care about here at HQ are getting to experience something that is that special is, I don't know, how do you script that? You can't. It's, this I've said this before, but like, folks have asked, is this the did you, Jeremy, and Elias get together and like plan how this was going to be? And it's like, this is not the product of a business plan. This isn't the product of any kind of master plan, really. Yeah. But it's the result of 10,000 individual decisions that have been made by various people throughout this company, throughout the community, that have influenced and shaped this game. And that's what we get. That's what we get to experience. And knowing as we do just how special that is, well, awesome. Let's keep going. Let's go have a big, year-long party to celebrate, and let's challenge ourselves to take it further than that the year after.
Yeah, I think that some people don't realize that you and your and the lackeys are always receptive, like genuinely receptive to input. That it's not where some companies are like, look, you're just a customer. We don't really care, whether you like our products or not. I mean, if you don't like it, go somewhere else. You guys have always been, everyone there has been like genuine. If you have input, send us information, and we will take it to heart. We'll take it to heart, and we'll kick it around, and we'll give it some thought. So, that was a question I know Jesse was asking about, which was the community, and you sort of touched on that, which was how the community has sort of been able to help shape geocaching.
I mean, in the early days, we didn't have all the inbound tools. We certainly, there was always sort of scale challenges of, how many people are asking for the same thing and how many people can respond to those emails. What do we choose to do? What do we not choose to do? But the reality is, what you see here is based so much in that feedback from the community, not just the feedback that was inbound, but like observational feedback, like watching what people do. You think about trackables. People were doing trackables, attaching a note to a Matchbox car and throwing it in a cache and saying like, hey, please email me when this moves and I'd love to see it go. And like, we saw that happening online, and Jeremy, to his, creative credit once again, was like, hey, we could make this easier. And, if I had a nickel for every time Jeremy said, hey, we can make this easier, and brought about some profound change to the game. I mean, the whole nature of the geocaching website was, in the very early days, he came back from his first geocache hike and he said, this was awesome. I got attacked by bugs. It was too hot. We ran out of water. I shouldn't have had my car on that trail. But it was awesome. And I have an idea for building a website to make it easier. And so when we saw people attaching notes to items, putting them in caches, we said, oh, travel bug dog tags. And all of a sudden you've got a business where there's millions of trackables that have sprung from that. That was something that somebody in the community, I wish I could tell you who was doing that or who Jeremy stumbled on at the time, but that was sort of the birth of trackables. And you think about cash in, trash out as an example, something that has such a profound impact, allows us to have such a profound impact. And I'll tell you about a CETO event that we just had on Thursday. Cool. But when you think about cash in, trash out, we saw people like posting in the forums like, hey, I've been bringing a trash bag with me when I'm, when I'm out and I'm cleaning, like, you should do it too. You should do it too. And I remember sitting in Elias's basement thinking like, oh, this is cool. Like, what should we call it? And it was like, I don't remember how we came up with cash in, trash out. Obviously it's stuck, but in the early days it was CITO, and now it's CETO. And, at some point somebody sort of started talking about it a little differently, but that's what we have now. The CETO that we did on Thursday, those of you who have been to HQ, if you've been up to the Troll in Seattle, it's one of the very famous spots. There's an organization. So HQ does a cash and trash out event in Fremont once a month. As a company, we do it, and we get turnout not just from us as a company, but the local community comes and we clean up spaces. And this past Thursday they brought in like bark and they sort of landscaped around the troll. It actually looks beautiful. It's much
that's
more
nice.
accessible. Yeah. But they had yards and yards of mulch that was like, I don't know, 150 yards away, yards and yards, but 150 yards away. And we had to carry it on tarps and in buckets and go spread it out and rake it and whatever. But we probably had 30 or 40 lackeys there. And it was one of those things where like, everybody was working hard. Like it's cold outside, but I needed to take a layer off because, you're moving buckets of stuff and raking and whatever. But when it's all said and done, like you look back and we say, hey, that place that's going to be visited by thousands of people, we just made it a little bit nicer. We just gave back a little. And okay, some of you know there's a geocache right by the troll. And so like cleaning up our game board is one of those examples that originally the community helped us see an opportunity that we were able to harness for the good of everybody. And so, that's what builds something that's special like this.
Yeah, that is awesome because that area, I can see if you add some mulch to it, it would make it. I mean, it's a nice area, but I can see where that would be a huge improvement to that little spot. But
it's so much nicer now. Really, so much nicer.
Yeah, no reason to visit.
Yeah,
it was dirt when I was
hands. Yeah, it was dirt. It was like a little sketchy to go up behind the troll. It's clean. There's like we did the mulch part, but there's new plantings. There's new sort of rockery areas. It's really well done. Awesome. And we partnered on the CETO with it's like I forget exactly the name of the organization, but it's like the Friends of the Troll. So they arranged the mulch to be brought in. They brought tools. We brought our own tools and a lot of gloves that are really in need of a wash right now. But it was a wonderful way to spend an early evening, with your colleagues and community members.
That is so awesome. To me, it's just like the whole geocaching events where you interact with community is just one of those like magical parts of the game. I know, big shout out, Fishing Gal had the great geocache container exchange earlier today. We all wrapped, geocaching containers with different gifts, went there and then exchanged them. And it was just awesome, opportunities like that. Bryan, question for you on this side. It's, so much people ask like of HQ, if HQ could ask something to the community, what would HQ ask to the community?
I think the easy answer, quite honestly, is we're really excited about the impact that all of us as a community are having. This is good for people. It's good for community. It's ultimately good for the world and all of that. But if you know somebody who would benefit from a little more time outside, from a little more community, maybe they don't have a community where they feel they fit. Maybe they're looking for something fun to do. I know my parents are on sort of the cusp of retirement, and my dad's like, I can only play golf so many days a week. What can we do? And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, we got this game over here. I have a suggestion for you. But so if you think about it, like, look at what we've done already as a community. We have shared this game with the people around us, and we've brought more players into the community, built a stronger community, ultimately built a stronger game that's having more of a positive impact. So, when folks say, like, where do you want to be 5 years from now? Where do you want to be 10 years from now? I want this game to positively impact the lives of more people. And the way that happens, it's not us buying Facebook ads or, running TikToks, although that stuff helps. But at the end of the day, it's people who understand and appreciate the game. Like, take your friends out, show somebody who is in need of something like geocaching about the game. It's not for everybody. My brother loves to fish. He'll go geocaching when I'm in town, but he's got his thing. Not everybody has their thing. So, oftentimes people are looking, or maybe they don't know that they need to be looking because you see a buddy who's in a rut, or you're, so what I would ask, what we would ask, and what we should all be asking is, how do we share the joy that this game brings, that this community brings, that the geocaching events bring, that participating in a CEDO brings? How do we share that with more people? Because at the end of the day, it's good. It's good for everybody. It just makes it better for all of us. And one aspect is, like, you think about the people that are creating extraordinary geocaches or extraordinary events. Like, there's people out there that haven't been given the chance to show what they're capable of. And so bring somebody in, and, the next thing you got a very highly favorited cache that's bringing, orders of magnitude of joy to people that never would otherwise have had that, but for bringing this new cacher to the game.
Yeah, one thing that sort of a semi-shameless plug, but I want to get your input on because it fits right into what you're saying, which is something that we're going to launch December 29th for next year, which is Cache Odyssey. Cache Odyssey is something we've been involved with. We've got 6 geo tours that we're going to be launching. One Cache Odyssey in every state, so there's 50 geocaches on the geo tours. And thank you to Jeff, the Gear Guru, for helping with that. Something that this was sort of a passion of Jesse's, and I think is very interesting, in which is to make geocaching more accessible. The terrain one for wheelchair accessibility. So it's something that obviously goes beyond that, but wheelchair accessibility is one item that I think is, geocaching, HQ is embraced, but I think a lot of geocachers, we feel, are not really embracing the possibilities of involving more people that can enjoy the outdoors more by having the great sport of geocaching be available to them. So is that something that you feel like HQ might be able to be involved with a little bit, as far as is HQ looking for possibilities for more accessibility for folks to be involved in geocaching?
Absolutely, of course. I mean, we're absolutely interested in making the game more accessible for people.
Yeah.
We actually have a very heavy focus with our mobile application and the website for accessibility. We have people, there's like, we would call it like an accessibility pass on new things that go out. So it's like, will a screen reader properly interpret this for somebody who, is using some tools to access the website?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, just things like, maybe you've noticed, but when you upload an image on in a log or something, it'll ask you, like, would you add text to describe this image? That's because not everybody can see it. And so the screen readers will say something like, this is an image of, and then it'll use the text to present it. So there's some of that accessibility work taking place. I think we're always open to ideas like, how can we, what can we do in physical space to make it more accessible? And knowing that, like, as we know, HQ is not out placing the caches.
Yeah.
We can present the experiences. We are we're sort of the presentation layer for the game, but we're not creating the underlying experiences. And so in order to create a more physically accessible game, it's going to start with more education, marketing, talking about it, sharing with cache owners, like, have you considered who is going to be able to find your cache? And maybe there's ways for us to showcase, like, hey, these are more, it's supposed to be one terrain, it's supposed to be wheelchair accessible,
supposed to be.
but who tells us it's one terrain? The cache owner. And so if we're not doing a great job with the education, if
exactly
the cache submission process, for example, maybe there's something we can do there. But also, when you know people who are placing caches, like having the conversations at events, bringing it up as a topic, obviously on the podcast, and sharing like, what can we do as a community to create more experiences that are accessible for other people who might not be like us, or might be like us, and how do we take constructive steps to actually do that?
Yeah. And I really appreciate that, because I know for like me, when I had a knee injury and then broke my foot, it's like I was looking for terrain 1 caches, because I'm like, man, I got to go out, I got to cache, but I got to find those caches I can get. And it was like such a bummer when like I would go out and the cache was not accurately rated, for terrain 1.
It's important.
And granted, what I was going through was temporary, but for people where it's a little bit, where it's not temporary, that just seems like a critical part of the game of being inclusive. So that's so good to hear that HQ is embracing that. I really appreciate it.
We certainly are. It's funny. I had an experience like a week ago, and I was out caching with Heidi, my wife, and we went to find a cache, and I don't remember exactly what the difficulty was, but for those of you who don't know, I'm not a very tall person for what it's worth. And so this cache, I kid you not, was just out of reach. And Heidi was sitting in the car, and I walked back to the car, and I'm like, I need some help. Like, one of us is going to have to boost the other one up to get this cache. And it's, obviously it's a different form of accessible challenge, but it's almost a reminder that even if you're not in a wheelchair, there's still challenges. Like, people have different challenges. There's people who are wearing hearing aids that you might not be able to see because there's such good technology these days. And like I hesitate to use the word limitations, but like, limitations aren't always visible. And so it's not always easy to solve for that. But if we're thinking about it, and the more sort of we can bring in diverse perspectives and hear from people who are experiencing these things, it just helps us to do a little bit better the next time, because now we know, now we understand. And that's part of growing as a community. It's part of the ideally the natural evolution of this game, is to become more inclusive, more accessible to everybody, because we want more people getting outside and having fun.
Well, and we forget sometimes. I think this is my message, I guess, to geocachers that are out there that are with us tonight, and that is, step back and think about things outside of your norm. If you are not somebody who has some accessibility situations, things that I don't think about, but John thinks about, because John's colorblind. So, or at least somewhat colorblind, right, John? You're kind of...
Well, I mean, for me, so I'm red-green colorblind, but I don't really process things by color, and that doesn't make sense to some people, but it's just because color's inconsistency. I don't remember color. I don't think in color. So for me, it's always interesting if I encounter a cache that is dependent upon colors. It's like almost like there was one library cache I went into, and I was jazzed. It had so many favorite points. And I went to the first stage, and it's like, find the wall that is this color. And I think I just walked out of the library. I was like, I'm done, on that one.
Yeah, but that's a great example of the fact that we all need to sort of, again, step back and think about this. Okay, am I making, say, a puzzle cache that is dependent upon this kind of situation where it's, red, green is a problem? I mean, we need to all, like, and this happens. We've talked to people who things that people sort of flippantly go, oh, it's wheelchair accessible. Well, is it really wheelchair accessible? I mean, do you know that it's really wheelchair accessible? Are you just guessing? And also the thing that we did with Cache Odyssey, another shameless plug, is we asked people to make an awesome geocache for wheelchair accessibility, so that all these caches, if they're, they had to be one terrains, and they have to be awesome. I mean, that's the point was, like John said, we have to all sort of think about these kind of things and try to, up the game a little bit and up the adventures for folks, in various, whether they're, short, tall, wheelchair, in a wheelchair, not in a wheelchair, all these various things. We need to all kind of, I think, step back sometimes and think about these things.
I'll say I didn't know that all of those caches were one terrain. That's wonderful. I mean, look, that's doing exactly what we're talking about doing. And then how do we create some outreach to groups who would appreciate that and benefit from it as a pathway to get involved? And it's not, it's not the promise that like, hey, all 3 point whatever million caches are going to be like this, but it is the promise of, hey, look, this thing was created specifically to be available to everybody, including you.
Yeah.
Come on in, you're welcome. And that's a rolling out the red carpet. I mean, that's really, I'm delighted to hear it. It's one of those examples of, like, as I said, we're making contributions as a company.
Yeah.
But our contributions are amidst a sea of contributions being made throughout the world by other participants. And so, here I am, like, thinking about that set of geo tours and how it's set up. Like, I didn't do anything, but I know, but as a member of this community, as somebody who's a part of it, like, I'm proud of us. I'm proud of what we are building together, because that aspect is just as important as some of the other aspects that we're creating.
Absolutely.
I mean, you, through your empowerment of your employees, and you set the example, you set the culture in the organization to benefit the community. And if you haven't done that, Jeff and Gear Guru would not take the step that he did to lay out the opportunity for these 6 geo tours to come to fruition. And granted, maybe it's not a big role for HQ, but it's an important role, because now we know where to look for them. We know how to find them. And we really haven't published the list of placers yet, but it's an all-star lineup. If this geo tour doesn't get 1,000 favorite points in the first year, well, maybe it's only because there's only 3 days left in this year, but it will next year.
Yeah, it's coming out in 29.
Fantastic. That's really, really fantastic. And for those of you out there who have placed one of these caches, like, thank you. Thanks for doing that. And for the organizers of this whole project, like, you guys, like, thank you. It's tremendous. And it's knowing that that's going to be available for folks is just another positive aspect of the game.
Yeah. It really speaks to what you're doing, Bryan, which is, you've hired, you have incredible lackeys. And again, you were talking about before, like, and Tim mentioned about Jeff, Gear Guru, he has, and again, we're pointing him out because he was involved with this, but this works for all lackeys that we've been involved with. But just currently talking about Jeff, when that is that, he embraces, the mission of geocaching, of HQ. And so he embraces that. He's able to then be a part of that. He is sort of now interacting with the community, us in the community who are wanting to be also part of the mission. And so it's kind of neat, I think, that we are able to be part of that. I mean, I know that, we've talked about it before. We're grateful to be, included sometimes in things. And we're, from the podcasting side of things, we are always looking for ways that we can, champion, the mission of geocaching. And so that's been really good. I've got to stop.
Yeah, there's a very important
Jesse question. Jesse's in the chat room. He's got to ask you. There it is. There's the question.
I see it.
You knew it was coming, Bryan.
I actually hadn't thought that it was coming, but I should have. I should know.
Known that where I goes, we're coming.
I'll say it should be no worse off than it is now. But
Stay the course.
I wouldn't expect any positive changes to where I go in the near term, solely because we are focused on other things. Other things that, given time, resources, priorities, we feel are more important to focus on. And as a relatively small company, I can say, like I said earlier, I'm excited about the things that we're focused on. I'm excited about what we're trying to do next year. I lament the fact that we have neither the time, resources, the time or resources to work on Where I Go among a list of other projects that are live, that need improvement, or are, right now concepts that something that we want to build. And there we have those, we have them in our back pockets, and it's like, when do we have the time? When are we going to do it? What comes next? And it's a constant exercise. And really at this point, Where I Go has been in its current form for a while. We have no plans to retire them. And I would say, if that's helpful, if that's helpful, like, we have no plans to retire them. I would personally view that as a pretty big takeaway, because I know a lot of people love them. And hey, it's not, it doesn't work nearly as well as it should. It certainly doesn't sort of honor the goals that we set for the platform in the beginning. But in a lot of ways, we built it as far as we could. We let it go, and then we're just focused on other things. And as I said, I'm excited about those things, both the ones that you're seeing and the ones you haven't seen yet.
Yeah. Well, hey, Bryan, now as that's a very important question that Jesse asked, and I have a somewhat controversial question that I have to put out there.
Here we go. Right ahead.
Your input on it. And this is aligned with some of my interests. I have to admit this. Does HQ have an official stance on pineapple on pizza?
Okay, that's enough. Okay, I'm kicking him out. I kicked it out, Bryan. So he's gone.
I almost want to answer it. And what I could say. So there has been more than a few Slack conversations at HQ about pizza over the years. And as far as I know, I don't believe there is an official stance.
Okay.
There you go.
I don't believe that we've decided one way or another. And I suppose, it's one of the things, like, should there be an official stance on, what's the best cache type? Probably not, because we want to, different people like different things. So look, if you like pineapple on pizza, more power to you. And if you don't, order something different. Get your pepperoni, your meat lovers, or veggie, or whatever. There's plenty of different pizzas to go around.
There you go.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's been a burning question on my mind.
I'm happy to help out with that.
Yeah, thank you for helping us solve that one.
So going back to 2025, Bryan, I did a little research while you were going on. 104 mega or giga events.
Oh, look them up. Cool. You're right.
For next year.
Yeah.
104. There you go.
104. 1,413 of the regular / CEDO group. We can't search for community celebrations event. Maybe that's something you could talk to somebody to fix.
Oh, that's interesting. We don't have a filter for that.
No, there isn't. You find it with the regular events, but then you got to sort through them. So anyway, 1,400 regular events. So what are you looking most forward to for 2025?
Let's see. Well, first of all, give me 1 second, because I just want to make a note.
Yeah, make a note.
Community celebration event.
Yep.
Search. Okay. So that's just now on my list, and I'll, it's either something that we'll find the time to do in the near term, or there's some technical reason why that's difficult.
No problem.
But I'm going to look at that.
Cool.
Sorry, ask me the question.
Well, it's important for next year. I mean, it may not be important for the year after, but for next year, those of us that collect community celebrations, you got to do an event search, and then you got to work through that to figure out where they're close to you. So that would be great.
Good question, Tim.
I'm gonna share it, of course. Okay. Yeah. What was the other question? I'm sorry.
So what are you looking forward most to 2025?
I am. Oh man, there's so many things that I'm looking forward to. So I'll tell you just a couple because I can't say just one. Okay. I am looking forward to lackeys, including myself, being out in the community and attending these events and celebrating 25 years with the community. I know we talked about this in the past, but the 2020 event, which became the 2022 event, was really wonderful. Having people in Seattle, it was a whole lot of fun. Yeah. But what we know is that not everybody can make it. Not everybody has the time and resources to make it to Seattle that particular weekend, for the party. And so we said at the end of last year, like, hey, we're not doing this for 2025. We are going to celebrate with the community. So we've got the block parties coming back. We got the community celebration events. And then with 104 events, we're going to try and have lackeys at a lot of them. And, we won't be able to make it to all of them. It's just not practical, but try and get out there and celebrate with the community. That's one thing. Honestly, I'm looking forward to putting some new things in front of the community and seeing if it resonates in the way that I think it's going to resonate.
Very cool.
So I think there's some opportunities to celebrate. I'm looking forward to this game getting a little bit of attention because it's 25 years, because that attention translates into the kind of awareness we were talking about earlier, where more people hear about it, more people say, oh, that sounds like fun. Maybe I should try that with my kids or with my grandparents or with my spouse or partner or, you name it. And all of a sudden we get more people participating. So those are a few of the things I'm looking forward to. There's more. I mean,
hey,
looking forward to working here at HQ for another year with this incredible group of people. I think we've talked about this in the past, but I worked in law firms. I was in New York City, pushing paper around and whatever. And it's here we are doing something like this together as a group and as a community. And it's not just life-changing for everybody out there in the geocaching world. It's life-changing for me too. Yep. So I'm looking forward to another year of getting to do something that I never could have dreamed of doing. And, at its foundation layer, being a part of this game with all of you. I'm really looking forward to that.
I know somebody that would like to ask you about 2025. And so I'm going to bring him in because he's going to be on in the next hour, but Joshua, you want to ask Bryan a question?
Joshua.
I'm also going to bring Ains in too because she's already here too. So thank you, Ains, for being with us.
Hey,
Ains, how are you?
I'm doing well on this Saturday. The sun just went down, but I had a wonderful lunch at a cafe. So
nice.
Ask more.
So Joshua,
Joshua's on mute, so he can't talk. So I'll slip my question in while he's muted.
No.
Wait.
Hello. I'm a challenge guy. I'm all about challenges.
Tim wants to ask about
challenges. Are on your spectrum.
How many challenges are on my spectrum?
Well, are you? Where do challenges sit on your spectrum?
Do you like to do challenges?
You go after them anytime you find them.
I'm not one of the people that looks for the challenges and tries to figure out if I meet the qualifications and go out and find it. I'm much more of an opportunistic geocacher. Although, I have a deep appreciation for the fact that they exist, and it gives people something to go for, something to goal setting and things like that. I think it's a very important part of the game, but it's one of the aspects that I aspire to have more time to do all of these caches. I maybe in retirement, 10 to whatever years from now.
Right.
So anyway, all right, that's my answer. How's it going, Josh? How's it going, Josh?
Go ahead.
Joshua, go for it.
I'm doing well. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Question? You have a question for Bryan before we?
Well, you put me on the spot. I don't know.
You did. I did.
Well, wait. Let me just say, Joshua, if you don't have a question, I have something to say about some of the work that Joshua is doing, and how it intersects with some of the work that we're doing. So, in the last couple of weeks, some of Joshua's TikToks, some of the media that he's producing with Daniel Flager over in Hanover, Germany.
Oh, yeah.
Using Adventure Lab as a tool set to create experiences at Globetrotters, the outdoor rec store in Europe. And then also, I don't know if there was a library where they had your comic, Joshua.
That was actually in a Globetrotter store too.
That was in the Globetrotters. Where was the coffee? Where's the coffee mug?
The coffee shop was in a restaurant inside of a shopping mall.
Okay, so for what it's worth, cool. If you're ever over, were those both in Hanover?
Yes, those were both in Hanover.
Okay, so if any of you get over to Hanover, like what Daniel, who's Geheimpunkt, and Joshua did, there are these. First of all, go see Joshua's media online. There's plenty of it, but one of the coffee cups, you have to order a hot beverage at this coffee shop, and the cup itself, when the heated beverage gets into it, it becomes almost like an escape room in a cup.
Yes.
But Adventure Lab, it's a multi-stage adventure where you have to answer questions, and I just want to say, like, it's something that, for those of us here who are passionate about Adventure Lab and what we believe to be the experimentation that could take place with Adventure Lab, like, it makes me so happy to see you guys pushing the envelope on that, not just doing it, but also sharing it to inspire the next generation or the next group of people who say, what else can I do with this platform? And I think it's such a great example of what can be done. And for what it's worth, I'm not the only one that's celebrating that at HQ. So keep going. Thank you. And thanks for sharing it. It's really greatly appreciated.
Yeah. Thanks, Bryan. It's just amazing the tool that Adventure Labs have become to, think even farther outside the box of what we see geocaching being. So, and Daniel is just an incredible mind to use that tool in such an amazing way.
He really is. He's a super creative entrepreneur. Hey, Roxy.
Bring Roxy in too.
Mm-hmm. Roxy and Haynes. Nice.
Hi.
Hey, glad you're aboard. So we're wrapping up with Bryan and starting to get ready for the next hour. But again, thank you, Bryan, as always, for being with us again tonight. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to Podcast of Hope for you to be with us. And really, for you, as I mentioned before, HQ has been so encouraging to us. There's no need, in a sense, for HQ to be involved with our podcast at all, but you all at HQ have been so warm and encouraging to us in our podcast, over the years, and just been able to, in accessibility. We've had different folks on. Different lackeys have been on the show at different times, and it's just been tremendous, to be part of the community, like we started off the hour, which was to be have that community be an integration with us, with the geocachers, with HQ has been wonderful. So again, thank you so much, and we're looking forward to 2025, and if you want to share anything, there's really nobody watching right now.
You got 1 minute left, Bryan. We can do this.
Go ahead and tell us something.
So briefly, before I go, and I'm going to a holiday party of a former lackey.
Yeah, you gotta leave. Yeah,
I'll say, like, it's an honor to be part of this Podcast of Hope every year, and I please invite me back next year. I would love to get to talk to you guys again, to talk to everybody again, and certainly in the interim works for me as well. And then one more time, like, thanks for doing this. Thanks for bringing this special bit of magic to the geocaching community, doing something that will help children and St. Jude's. Like it's really special to be a part of it, and I know you folks give a lot of time to make this happen, and from all of us at HQ and really the community as a whole, it's another positive aspect of this game, and you all deserve a lot of credit. And so thanks for having me again. You've got Joshua and Roxy and Ains, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening and happy holidays and happy new year, and we're going to have a really good time in 2025.
Yep.
So
thank you so much, Bryan. Hey, have fun at your party, and we'll wrap up tonight. And Tim, thanks for being.
We got $2,577 in the bank because now
we're doing great. Yeah,
that's great.
So Tim, thanks for being along as well, and we'll get a reset for the hour, and we'll get this hour started up. This will be awesome. So, and let me get the video that I want to show next.
Cheers.
Hi, Bryan.
Okay. Thanks, Bryan. So we're going to this one right here.